Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. So I'm Louise Ross, and I'm the Service Manager for Leicester City Council Stop Smoking Service. Thank you. And we've been e-cig friendly now for 3 years, and I thought it would be a good point to feedback a bit on what we've learnt, what we've achieved in that time. My declarations, although I'm a member of the New Nicotine Alliance, I don't receive any personal benefit from any organisation apart from my employer. So I think we've had success on a number of fronts with e-cigarettes. Our reputation certainly has grown. Leicester is a tiny, tiny little city really in comparison. I can cycle from one end of the city to the other in half an hour. But a lot of people, not just in the UK, but across the world, have now heard about Leicester. And in our particular sphere, that's been really important to me. Our influence, I think, has grown enormously. There was a question this morning about how you convince pregnant women to not believe that vaping is as harmful as smoking. Well, you influence the people who are most influential for the pregnant women, and that's the midwives. And we've done a lot of work on that front, training midwives and explaining to them that vaping is not the same as smoking. It's completely different, and to enable and facilitate women to be confident enough to make that change. And not frighten them off and in fact push them away from the stop smoking field and having them go back to smoking. GPs, we would often hear from our patients that the GP would say to them, well, you're still smoking, I'm still putting you down on your record as a smoker. Well, that's wrong, they are ex-smokers. And so our ability to influence how patients are recorded, I think, was very important in Leicester. That we made sure that the clinical commissioning group sent out an instruction to GPs that if somebody is solely vaping, they are an ex-smoker. They are not a smoker anymore. We've made big connections, and I think not a week goes by that we don't have contacts from mental health trusts, from policymakers, commissioners, providers, wanting to exchange views. And it's not all one way. It's certainly not them always coming to us for advice because, the whole field has grown in expertise. So, we've gone to other trusts that have got more experience than we have. The connections with vapers has been very important, and I can't emphasise that enough, that if I give a talk somewhere, I'm going up to Manchester in a few weeks, I will find a local vapor and they will share a platform with me because I so strongly believe in the principle of nothing about us without us. And we've done some very early work, similar to what we heard earlier, about vapors helping people to switch. Because a lot of the people that we see don't have access to the internet. They don't automatically go and look at YouTube to see how to change a coil or whatever. So it's listening to other people that can be so influential. Our service results have improved with being e-cig friendly. I'll come on to some results in a minute, but it's very clear when we compare ourselves with our comparator sites for stop smoking services that our footfall and our success rates because of e-cigarettes have been very much better. Our confidence has grown as well. The whole team, including advisors who at first were very nervous about this, who weren't sure that it was the right thing to do because we don't know long-term effects, they've seen over and over again excellent results with people who have switched to vaping, and they've gathered together a whole store of anecdotes, of stories, of tips and hints that they can pass on to new people who are just starting that journey. So it's been marvellous. We have a clear call to action, and this poster in fact, went round the world within 2 hours of it going up on billboards in Leicester. It was appearing in Australia, in America, Spain, Germany, Belgium. I was so excited. And basically, if you can't read the small print, it says that all smokers should think about vaping and all vapers should stop smoking completely. That's our call to action. We'd like people to use our service because I think we can offer added value. And we've learnt that along the line. At first we thought it might be good to try and get people just to vape, to see what their results were when they didn't use any of the nicotine replacement therapy or varenicline or anything else. But actually, as we became more experienced and more familiar with the best way of getting somebody to quit, we saw that the best quit results come with a patch and a vape as well. Sometimes even Champix and a vape, but having that background support for nicotine hunger seems to work very well with the hand-to-mouth action of vaping. But whether they come to us or not, it's just important that they make that change. And personally, I'd be happy if vaping actually put us out of business. If it was decided in a few years' time that we don't need a stop smoking service, that would be a result for me. And I think we're often challenged in the public health world that we actually want to slow down progress on this because it keeps us in jobs. Well, that's rubbish. So, year on year, our increases in the use of e-cigarettes. You can see that in these 3 years, the number of people accessing the stop smoking service, does this have a red button? Yeah. The bottom number is the number of people who actually joined the service. Now that's fallen over those 3 years, which shows a similar trend to that which is happening in other parts of the country. Fewer people are using the stop smoking services, but our quit rate, our percentage quit rate has maintained, and our number of people using e-cigarettes has increased. So it's gone from 180 quits 3 years ago to 500 quits in the year that we've just reported on. And who are these people? This most recent year, I did a quick analysis of this. I was expecting to have a bit more on this, but our collaborator at the University of Warwick hadn't quite got their figures back to us. But this is a quick and dirty analysis of where we are. That slightly more women than men. In terms of age, 3 were under 18. They were already using a vaporizer and wanted some extra help. 40 were over 70, but the majority were a good stretch between ages of 30 and 60, with no particular peaks. And I kind of expected that there would be fewer older people, 50 to 60. But actually, that trend is maintained, that, there are plenty of people coming through that are in that 50 to 60 age group and beyond. Most were white British, but there were about 70 people roughly described as of South Asian origin, so Indian for the want of a better word. But 77% from health inequalities groups. Now, I thought this was remarkable. We're talking about people who are long-term unemployed, people who are sick and disabled and unable to work, home carers, people in very low-paid jobs. And I think I think the key is actually offering a step on the ladder with vaping, because many would have said to us, and do say to us, I can't afford a starter kit. So we give starter kits. We initially did it as samples, and then we started buying. And it's helped enormously to get people to try it. They're perhaps not prepared to pay out 20 or 30 quid on something that may not work for them, but if we give it, they can then save money for what happens, 3-4 weeks down the line. Pregnant women as well, 38% used an e-cig, and their success rate was much better than those using NRT. It was something in the region of 58% success, which, for a pregnant woman is really, really important. What are we going on to next? The Strive 5, as I've written here, we've chosen 5 pharmacists to do a bit of a pilot on a product called Strive. And it's produced by a pharmaceutical supply firm. It's a standard second-generation refillable, rechargeable vaporizer. Not very pretty, not very sexy, certainly. It doesn't come in any colours. It's just a clearomizer with a black battery part. Comes in 6 different flavours. But because it's available through a pharmacy supply chain that also supplies head lice treatment, disinfectant, cough meds and that sort of thing, the pharmacists were much more interested in going for that than something from an independent or a tobacco industry vape shop or supplier. Somehow they had more confidence because it was a pharmacy recognised product. So we've just started that. We're going to give it a couple of months to see whether they do well with it, and then we will roll it out to other pharmacies if that's what they want to do. Certainly early. Sorry. Right. Okay then. Thank you. Maybe next year I'll be able to report back on that. Certainly continuing that focus on inequalities, doing a lot of work with mental health patients, and last year I talked about our work in mental health wards. It's been very patchy in terms of success. But what we realise now is that if patients who are still in the community can get themselves ready with a good vaporiser before they get admitted to hospital, then they stand a better chance of coping with being smoke-free once they're admitted. And we're finding that the matrons are now saying, a year ago they were saying, no, we don't want rechargeables, we only want disposables. Now they're realising that they weren't good enough products. So they're saying, just let people bring in what they want. They've kind of given in, which is lovely. Fire safety for vulnerable smokers. The people who are seen by community fire safety educators who are sitting there in their beds or in their chairs covered in ash burns because they drop fag ash on their nighties and their pyjamas and that sort of thing. There's a ring of burns around on the carpet. We're using the community safety educators to give out free samples to those people to say, this is an alternative. It might stop you burning yourself. I won't say any more about that, but you can imagine that, that could be an interesting call to action for some. Early days yet. Couldn't say that it's been hugely successful, but it starts sowing the seed in people's minds. I'm going to finish, though, on what about underage smokers. Now, this is something that I just don't know the answer to. We are being asked by 14-year-olds how they get hold of a vaporiser because they've already had a puff on somebody else's. They want to use it for stopping smoking. They don't want to use NRT. They can't buy. They can't have anybody buy for them. We can't supply it. What do we do? I think that is the big challenge for public health and tobacco control. What we do about children who are already smoking. And on Twitter, when I put out a plea for some advice on this, some people said, what the right thing is to do. Just give it to them. Well, that's another 4 years that they've got to be supplied with something that is an illegal product. So I leave that with you to think about. And if anybody's got any answer, come and find me. Thank you.